Enoch Phiri. I am the National Team Leader for African Enterprise Malawi. I gave my life to Jesus in 1974. During that time, what happened was there was a time that I used not to go to church because our family left going to church when my father and mother divorced. We were going to the Baptist church, attending Sunday school at an early age. But when my father and mother divorced, all of us, we had nothing to do with church. But when I was in Blantyre, Malawi, I was staying at a block of flats. Next door neighbor was a son of a church minister of the Presbyterian church. He invited me to church, but I refused. But he said, well, there was a choir at the church. So upon learning that I can join a church choir, because I used to sing in the school choir, I was excited to go to church, not to join the church per se, but to be in the choir. But now, because it was a church choir, since it was singing in the church, I found myself in church. And although I went to church, this son of a church minister, I discovered was not a Christian at all. He, when he brought me into the church choir, he also taught me how to mess around with choir girls. So I thought, oh well, this is a good place to be in church, in the choir, but messing around with choir girls. This went on, but in 1974, my friend, this one who had brought me to church, he was selected to go to a secondary school 300 kilometers away. So back here, I heard the word of God in church. So at that time, I had reason to be a choir master. So somebody preached and said, you may be a choir master, you may sing in the choir, you may be an elder, but if you are not born again, there is nothing for you before God. So he made an altar call in the Presbyterian church, something which used not to happen. I was one of the people who went in front, gave my life to Jesus. That was in March 1974. So ever since that time, I've been walking with Jesus. Before joining African Enterprise, I worked in Every Home for Christ for 5 years. Then I left, I joined World Vision for 22 years, working as a Christian witness coordinator. And then thereafter, I joined African Enterprise in 2006 as a team leader. My work involves around 4 areas. Evangelism, which we call stratified evangelism. I am involved in Pan-African missions, where we join other team leaders and evangelists to preach in a big city. But also I have been involved in planning some local missions in Malawi since I joined. And we have seen many lives coming to the Lord. Stratified evangelism, by stratified evangelism, we mean going to where the people are. And I like to see precious souls getting saved. That is one area. And the second area of our ministry is leadership development. Whenever we have some missions, we target top-level leaders and tell them about leadership principles, because one of the problems in Africa, why there is political turmoil, there is chaos, it's because of leadership. African Enterprise has been involved in Malawi and during Pan-African missions targeting politicians, people from the higher institutes of learning, and managers from banks and companies, Speaker of Parliaments, ambassadors. So we have been doing that even in Malawi. But the other area again, in Africa, because of our missions, many people have been converted, but they don't have trained leaders. So we have also been involved in Malawi, training pastors who have not gone to any theological college. We have been doing this in partnership with Moore College in Australia. Some call it Moore College, M-O-O-R-E. So right now we are currently training 52 pastors. They have people in their churches, but no theological training. So you can imagine how an untrained doctor can kill lots of patients. What about an untrained pastor? Spiritually, he can also be teaching blasphemy or false doctrines, killing lots of precious souls. So African Enterprise is involved in training these pastors. This has been ongoing now for the past 4 years. The other area has been peacemaking and reconciliation. In Malawi, we have been involved in peacemaking and reconciliation every time before the general elections, presidential and parliamentary. We invite the contending parties and we organize what we call presidential prayer breakfast, so that those who would lose, they should accept the results. Because that is one of the problems in Africa, where people, after they lose elections, they don't want to accept the results. That happened in Ivory Coast, and a civil war broke out there, and even in Zimbabwe. We tell those who have lost to accept the results, those who have won to win, to celebrate honorably, not to despise the losers, and to live, to coexist together, to live together. So we are involved in that. Of course, in other countries, we have been organizing workshops in peace and reconciliation, because after the war, like in Rwanda, after the genocide, that is not the end of the story. People are still hating inside, bitterness. So African Enterprise has been organizing workshops, and there is a testimony that at one workshop, a Hutu lady and a Tutsi lady attended a reconciliation workshop, and guess what? They fell in love. They were both unmarried, and after that, they got married, and God blessed them with a baby, and they called the baby Reconciliation. That was the name of the baby. And when people asked them, they said, we are reconciled now, a Hutu man and a Tutsi lady. So that's what African Enterprise is doing. Yeah, in Malawi recently, we had mass demonstrations, but as African Enterprise, we were in the group of Council for Non-Governmental Organizations, which were also involved in speaking with the authorities. And I, for one, I was in a group of 3 people who went to meet the president and speak to him about the need for peace and how he can also look at the issues in how to look at the issues better so that peace should prevail. So we are doing that as African Enterprise. And the 4th area of operation is what we call aid and development. We also look for the needs of people. In Malawi, we are having a project on vocational skills in tailoring for vulnerable women and prostitutes. So we teach them a skill in tailoring, and at the same time, there is a lady who helps them spiritually, so that when they are transformed, some of them from being prostitutes, at least they have a trade which can help them to earn a living in a dignified manner. So we also have a HIV and AIDS project in schools. We also had an orphan care program. We also have been involved in drilling boreholes, that's water and sanitation, and also shallow wells. So we have had ongoing programs again in adult literacy. So basically, this is the work that we have been doing, and in all this work, we work in partnership with the church. Thank you very much. May God bless you all. Amen.